Hey YouTube, I am back to do my May wrap up for the books that I've read this month. As y'all can probably tell, I'm filming at a bunch of different places right now. I haven't figured out an official set location for me to film my videos yet. Um, yeah, so without further ado, this is the first time I've ever kind of given reviews almost of books, so I hope it goes okay. So the books that I read, I believe 5 books in the month of May. And so, without further ado, let's go. I read and thoroughly enjoyed the last book of Mistborn Era 2 that has been published at this point. I think there's one more in Mistborn Era 2 that will come out at some point. It is called The Bands of Mourning, and I gave the book five stars. Loved it. I really enjoyed just all of the characters in that book, and I honestly liked Mistborn Era 2 over Mistborn Era 1 at this point. Marcy is an awesome character in terms of there being more female characters in Brandon Sanderson's works. Steris was very impressive in this book. She kind of doesn't have a whole lot to say or do in the first two of this trilogy that's out so far. But I really like those two characters, and Wax and Wayne obviously have my whole heart. I loved the book. I'm really excited for the next one to come out. When I finished it, I had actually heard the fourth one was already out in that series at this point. It was a lie, and then I was very sad about it for a while, but needless to say, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I really enjoyed The Bands of Mourning. There's obviously a whole lot more that goes into that book, but I've read a lot of books, and I don't remember all of the details, so I also got to read Cup of Gold by John Steinbeck. This kind of follows the story, and the back here says, with a dash of historical accuracy, the life of Henry Morgan, who is the English gentleman's son that goes to be a buccaneer, which is what they called, what the nice word for pirates was, and he goes to the New East Indies, and so basically the Caribbean area, and decides he's going to be a buccaneer and a pirate. He's sold into slavery initially, and then ends up running said plantation for a while, and then becoming a buccaneer. It was a really good story. I love John Steinbeck's way of writing. This is a well-used and loved book. I got it from my grandmother. Has a nice old book smell situation going on. I also do like pirates, so this was a very fun read. I didn't have a lot of expectations going into it, but to give you all an idea of what this book was like, it's his mighty novel of adventure, lust, and conquest on the Spanish Main. So it was an adventure story. You got to follow this character through what he did and through his life, so that was pretty cool. And it's loosely accurate to the actual Captain Morgan of the pirates that went and took over Panama. So that's exciting. I finished The Stand. I did start this book. My Goodreads says I started in February. I did not get it till my birthday in mid-April, so I don't know what my Goodreads is talking about, but I read this book. I got it for my birthday in mid-April, so it took me quite a while to read. I didn't start it immediately. I think I started it very early May, and I finished it very late May. It is a very hefty book, as you can tell. There is 1,153 pages, but I liked it a lot. It is not as horrifying as some of the Stephen King books are and can be. It is one of his quintessential works, so to speak, but I picked a rough time to read it, which is why it took me so long to get through, because COVID is going on. So that was what the first half of the book is really what's happening during the pandemic. Everyone's dying, society is disintegrating, and that felt a little bit obviously on a more extreme scale, because this disease that they follow in the book killed 99.8% of the world's population. It's obviously a little more extreme and stuff, but it was still a poor timing choice for me to read, because it was a little bit too related to what we were actually seeing going on, and it was a little difficult to get into. But the second half of the book is rebuilding society and stuff, and then you kind of actually get to see some of the horror that Stephen King was alluding to at the beginning of the book that of like the Dark Man and like all of that and how that society works. So um, pretty good. You follow a couple characters who all survived, and they all end up meeting up together and like going to do the thing. So it was a good book. I will say I recommend it to read. I think I gave it 4 stars, just because the beginning was a little slow, and that was also just the four. If I read this book again, I might give it 5 stars when I'm not actively living in a pandemic situation. But here we are at this point. I also this month read The Great Hunt, which is the Wheel of Time book 2. That's for book 2. And I really did like that book. I know in some high fantasy universes with series that are long and drawn out that the first book can have a lot of build up and be a little bit slow. So that I did have that opinion of the first book. I think book 2 was much better. I enjoyed it a lot more, just because stuff actually like started to happen. I didn't dislike the first book. This second book though, like the characters are coming into the roles they're supposed to have. It seems like its own unique story, because the first book had a little bit of just like general like high fantasy novel series where like there's a quest, they gotta go do it, these people are unlikely heroes, stuff like that. But in the second book, they all kind of are like coming into their roles, and like stuff is actually happening, and they're about to go, like the world is falling apart or breaking, as they call it in that book, and we actually see some of like more of the magic and things like that in a clearer sense. So it's not just so like vaguely referenced. The magic system is cool. There's a one power that some people can channel, and most women can channel it and control it without destroying themselves. The men who can channel typically destroy themselves and the rest of the world. So it was a really good book. I'm very excited for the rest of the series, and I do know Brandon Sanderson finishes the series, which I wanted to read more Brandon Sanderson while I was waiting to read the Stormlight Archive again before book 4 comes out. I was recently told that it doesn't actually come out until November, which made me sad. So I might push back when I start those books a little bit, but yeah, and I also this month read, I'm going to have to look up the full name, Kingpin. It is by Kevin Poulsen, and it's called How One Hacker Took Over the $1 Billion Cybercrime Underground. That's my, like, technical style reading book for the month. Really enjoyed it. I've found that, like, cyber security and some technology-related books are almost read like suspense novels, depending on, like, the topic they're talking about. And this one, like, is following this guy named Max Ray Vision. This is a true story. It's nonfiction, and yes, his name is Max Ray Vision. And so they follow his life and how it builds up into him being this man who re-engineers the like cybercrime industry and like and all of that. And it's portrayed in a way that like the authors very clearly like talks about highly technical subjects to where like an average reader would understand what they were talking about. And yeah, and you almost like start to root for the guy even though he's like actually a criminal, because in cybersecurity there's like different levels of the kind of hacker you are. And so it just follows this guy who's like doing things with good intentions despite the fact that they're illegal, or he's trying to solve a problem that happens to be like the way he's doing it is not the correct way for it to be like a good thing overall. So it's just an interesting concept to think about, and so I really enjoyed it. It's for my hacker book club I work with and stuff, so that was very exciting. I know for that we're reading a couple different books over the next few months, but which is why I'll have a couple technical books here. Yeah, if you're ever interested in hearing more about some like technical books, and I like to read things on like astrophysics and just science in general, and computer science and IT and cybersecurity, because those are all very things that are very interesting to me. I might even do a full like video on just recommendations in that realm of books, because I don't really see a lot of that on BookTube. So yeah, that's all the books I read this month. I think I've already posted my summer or upcoming TBR situation on YouTube. So thanks for watching. I hope you all subscribe, like the video, leave a comment with suggestions or ideas or what y'all thought. Glad to be here and hope y'all enjoyed this time. Thank you.